Okay, so this is a recording I'm doing for anyone who needs explanation on how to take the final exam, uh, given you are missed the Zoom meeting where I explained it. So let me get to how to take this exam. All right, so if we go to the Canvas homepage, depending on which day you're in, A day or B day, doesn't matter. In terms of the same instructions. So I'm just going to click on A day. Exam is posted under the date the exam was given. So for A day, it was Thursday the 27th. And so here you see Final Exam Part 1, Final Exam Part 2. There are two parts to this exam, and you'll take both. Finish the first part and then move on to the second part. Now you can get to the final exam also through the modules, which from the playlist, they're linked to the modules. And here at the bottom of the modules you see Final Exam Part 1 and Final Exam Part 2. Also, you might want to refresh and take a look at the exemptions to make sure see if or not you are actually even exempt to even take the exam. So I'm just going to go back to the playlist and get to the exam that way and start with Final Exam Part 1. So actually, let me pull this tab out so that map's not going to work. So Final Exam Part 1, all the instructions are highlighted here. So I'm just going to start reading with that. So this part is the artist research part. So select one of the artists from below to do your research along with the artwork they created. To do your research, you may simply highlight the artist's name and the artwork, then do a Google search. If you are unfamiliar with the artist and the artwork, you may want to look at several before selecting which one you'll do your research on. Okay, so all these artists are on the left, their name, and then on the right is an artwork they created. Okay. So you're actually going to do a research of the artist and that particular artwork they created. Okay. A lot of these artists you probably have heard of, and some of them may have not. But although they are pretty famous artists and they are in art history books, um, you may want to do some Google searches of the artist before selecting one. That way you can kind of hone in exactly which one you want to do. Like, let's just say Claus Oldenburg. He was a pretty obscure artist for the most part. He's pretty famous pop artist. Um, Now, I don't know if Claus Oldenburg is still, yeah, he's still alive. He's pretty old age. He's 92. But a lot of these artists are no longer living. They're so he's on up there in age. He's probably about the only ones living that are on that list. But Claus Oldenburg, so you can obviously see there's a lot of artwork. I mean, there's a lot of websites here with his name. So you can obviously find all the information you need for answering all the research. So if you want to look at some of the artwork he's created, you can probably go to just click images, and then you start to see some of the artwork he created. So he makes these funky everyday object, really large sculptures, which in Art 1's class here, we kind of do some of that with this paper mache sculptures. You may have seen some of those around, but he does these really kind of large everyday item sculptures. Okay, kind of whimsical. All right. So that might be somebody you've never heard of, and so now you're familiar with what type of work they make, and maybe you want to do your research based on them. So I'm just giving you a suggestion of how you might can narrow down your artist and artwork. So once you have the artist and artwork. So actually, I never did clothespin sculpture is the one associated with that. I don't know if I see it here. So I'm just going to type in clothespin sculpture. Came up real quick. This one is pretty famous for. So here's the clothespin sculpture. So it's a really big clothespin. All right. So now that you've selected an artist and artwork, use what you can find on the internet about them to answer the following questions. Answer the questions by selecting, copying, and pasting the questions to the text entry box, then type your answers. Please do not type your answers on the same line as the questions. Instead, type them under the questions. Also use a different style font, such as bold, italic, underline, or highlight. This way I can easily make out the difference between your answers and questions. At the end, you will do a drawing, study of the artist's work in Final Exam Part 2. If you have any questions, you may message me through Remind or email me at my email address, okay? So the questions I have for you should easily be able to find for these artists. Like I said, they're all pretty famous and lived very productive lives. And so basic questions such as where they're from, when they're born, and when they die, if they did. Give a short biography, okay? So particularly anything that indicates how they became an artist or significant events that took place in their life. So all these artists, you know, they probably have a pretty unique story in terms of what they went through to become the artists they did. And so see what you can find out. Each of the artists listed above contributed something significant to art within their lifetime. What do you think that accomplishment is? So also, all these artists are in art history books, as I said, so they did something pretty significant in order for that to happen. There's been a lot of artists out there, but they don't make it into art history books. So they did something pretty significant. So what is that? Why would you say the artist made art? Now, that's something that you may find particularly stated within your research, or something you might have to deduce from what you've researched, okay? Just something that you think is what it is that, just from what you can figure on your own, okay? After finding out more about them. Okay, so that might be something that's not necessarily a very pinpointed answer that you're going to have based on the information you find. You're just going to have to sift through it and kind of gather through that and maybe kind of figure that out. Okay, so number 4, what about the artist and their work made you choose them? Be very thoughtful in your response. Describe how the art either looks specifically, how it made you feel, and or how it made you think. So you know, I have a feeling a lot of you are going to select an artist based on their art. You know, if you like their art or not, or just something about it, and probably that's what moved you to do your research on them. Okay, so you know, really think about that. What do you think was about their art that made you want to do your research? Okay. And try to just, you know, be fairly specific. Okay, number 5. What is the medium material of the artwork the artist created? So the material is, you know, it could be anywhere from marble to plaster to steel to clay to acrylic to oil paint to tempera paint, all these types of materials that could be potentially the medium. So you're going to have to find out particularly about that artwork. So like for instance, Claus Oldenburg's clothespin, you'll have to find out exactly what material that clothespin is made of. Okay? All right. So number 6, what year did the artist create the artwork? Okay. So what you're going to need to do, so for instance, the clothespin, you'll have to find out when exactly he made that. Number 7, list at least one or two events that took place during this time period. An event could be a war, depression, invention, or societal change. So once you find out the year they created the artwork, you could just Google important events during the year so and so, right? And then just pick one or two of those. Okay. So number 8, what is the discipline or the artwork? So for instance, like the clothespin, that would be a sculpture. Okay. Yours might be a painting, might be a drawing, might be a print, so forth. Okay. So number 9, what is the style or period of the art that the artist falls within? An example may be surrealism, cubism, etc. So to find the style, you can just simply Google that. So for Claus Oldenburg, it'd be like, what style of art did Claus Oldenburg make? Okay. And so I can just do a search for that real quick. I'm just going to go to all, get back out of images, and just type that in real quick. What style of art did Claus Oldenburg make? So, completed it for me essentially. So here you can see it did come up with 2 periods, pop art and modern art. And a lot of times, styles and periods do kind of overlap, and so you might find multiples for an artist, and then you'll just kind of pick on one. So I would suggest doing pop art as what Claus Oldenburg as an example. So for the 10th one, you're going to need to know that. Research the style, period, and give a brief description definition of it. Okay, so what you'll need to do then is research pop art, okay? And then find out what you can come up as a description or definition for it for number 10, okay? So to do this, in order to answer your questions and turn it in, I was given specific instructions on that. So to start your assignment, click that at the top to start the assignment, and this text entry box will show up. So don't do it on Google Slides, don't do it on a Word document or anything like that. Just do it through the text entry box. And what I suggest doing, so you don't have to scroll up and down to read your questions and put in your answers, is just go ahead and copy and paste the questions. So if you can go ahead and select all those, copy them, paste them, and now you've got your questions right there, and you can start to answer them. Now, you can make this text entry box bigger by grabbing this right here and pulling it down. All right, and what I was saying was I'd rather students not type right next to the question, because then it just kind of blends in, all right, if I'm looking for your answers. So what I would suggest doing is hit return and start on a line below, okay, to start typing in your answers. What would also be helpful if we went a little further and maybe made these like unbold those, right? So now they look like a different font and more visible. And then also you could even go as far as highlight, and then I'd definitely be able to see your answers, okay? So then you would just submit that, right? So now you're ready for final exam part 2, which I have a link right here conveniently, or you can go back to the Canvas playlist page. So we'll just click it from right here. Okay, so here is, none of these are highlighted, but all these are instructions. Now that you have completed the research portion of the artist, you are to create a drawing of the artwork you selected, okay? Drawing can be done in pencil. Color would be nice, but it's not required. Drawing is to be no bigger than 8 inches and no smaller than 4 inches. Drawing can be done on any piece of paper you have available. Drawing does not have to be very elaborate. Should only take 10 to 15 minutes to complete. Once you've done photograph your drawing, crop it and upload to turn in, okay? So essentially now you're going to look at that specific artwork, like if it was Claus Oldenburg, I go back to his clothespin. So if I can get back to that. Did I go too far? Oh, there we go. So essentially I would just do a drawing of that. I'd pick one of these pictures of it and do a drawing of it. It would be nice, particularly for his artwork, that you include the environment, okay? Because that really is what makes his artwork. Is that I think for him, these objects being as big as a building, or being next to a building like that gives it that sort of that impact. I think it's important to put it within context, okay, in terms of where it's been displayed at. And so you would need to probably draw the building as well, okay, in order to really get across the artwork, okay. Now it doesn't have to be super, refined drawing. Like I said, only about 10 to 15 minutes is all you need to do to, as far as time spent on this drawing. Okay? It doesn't have to be super refined or finished. So to turn this in, just like you turn in any photograph, you're just going to upload, choose file, and then it'll take you to somewhere, wherever your device is where your drawing is. You're going to photograph it and then get onto your device that you're going to upload from. Okay, and then you just submit this once you've chosen that, and that is it. So if you, of course, if you have any questions, you can always message me and remind or email me, and that's it.